Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Down South Salvation Podcast. For this week's episode, we're going to be continuing our Psalms and Soundwaves series with Shea Dalton from Dear Adversary. And before we jump into his story and his band story and what they've got going on lately, I'm going to open us with a prayer for the mission of the church. Ever living God, whose will it is that all should come to you through your Son, Jesus Christ, inspire our witness to him, that all may know the power of his forgiveness and the hope of his resurrection, who lives and reigns with you in the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
All right, Shay. Best place to do this is just start from the beginning. So tell us about yourself. Tell us how you started the band.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I live in Southern California, so probably about like 45 minutes south of LA. Just kind of lived in this area for my whole life. I grew up here. I live in a town called Costa Mesa, about 10, 15 minutes from the beach. So wonderful weather here. Been married for 3 years now. And so my wife and I, we live here. Love it. And yeah, so in terms of the band, yeah, I started it like late, probably somewhere in like the fourth quarter of 2024. And it was just something that birthed out of like what I would say, like through the Holy Spirit. Like I just felt that prompting, over and over again to start a Christian hardcore band in particular. And that being said, having grown up like in the hardcore scene and stuff like that, played in many different bands and stuff, and just kind of done all different types of music throughout the years. Got really acclimated in the church doing worship and stuff like that. And then I don't know what it was. I just felt the Lord just like putting stuff on my heart, like saying, "Hey, um, this is something that I think you should do, and you can be really useful in a way that is, faithful to the gospel, but also, doing music that I grew up doing as well." And so, so I kind of, ignored that prompting for, probably about 3 or 4 of those. I think we've all been through something like that, something similar to that. Until finally I was like, all right, Lord, if you want me to start this, bring me the members, because it's one thing to start a hardcore band, but it's another thing to start a Christian hardcore band. And because not everybody wants to play that kind of music, or not everybody wants to carry that kind of message. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it started. And um, yeah, so I told the Lord, I was like, hey, bring me the people. And slowly but surely, I just started crossing paths with people. That He put them in my life, and I was like, hey, I'm starting this. You down? They're like, yeah, let's do it. And so, yeah, it was pretty cool.
So you mentioned you played in other bands. So
Yeah.
like what is your musical like? Has it always just been hardcore bands, or have you jumped genres before, or
Yeah, so I mean, I love and listen to all different types of music. I think I just, in high school, I gravitated towards heavier music. It's metalcore. I was in a deathcore band for a while, and yeah, and just like rock, alternative, all the good stuff. And so yeah, I like listening and playing all different types of music. And so, yeah, I kind of have a background in a little bit of it all. But I just found myself, in terms of like playing music and stuff like that, always gravitated towards the heavier stuff. Our guitar player in the band, Billy, and I, we used to be in a pop punk band together years ago. We used to tour and stuff like that too. So a lot of the other guys in the band too, we all love and listen to all different types of music. And so it's just not hardcore.
nice, nice. Um,
Yeah.
okay. So what, as far as Dear Adversary specifically,
Mhm.
what bands would you say sort of are the musical influence behind it? Like what have y'all kind of pulled from in y'all's collective experience to kind of give the
Right.
sound that y'all have now?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question. And so it could range from, all different types of things. But I think in terms of genre, like what it influenced us, we're looking at bands like Comeback Kid, bands like Terror, Verse, and maybe bands like Bane too. All those types of bands from like specifically like that era really inspired us because that's kind of like the era of hardcore that we grew up listening to, and so those will always have some sort of stamp on us and our influences and the way we write and stuff like that. And so yeah, those types of bands really play into our writing style and playing style.
I got you.
Yeah,
So I'm curious now because
yeah.
I grew up a little bit more. Well, I grew up in the South, so my experience is going to be a little bit different than yours because I'm assuming you grew up out west.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so what? Because I know I've never really been heavy in the hardcore scene,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I've definitely listened to some bands that would probably get considered hardcore. I've also listened. I was mainly in the pop punk and emo scene. That was
Oh,
kind of my
nice. There
thing.
you go. Yeah.
Of course, I had friends who were like metalheads and junk, but that's only just because we were in a small town of like fifteen
Okay.
thousand people. So I mean, like we had one high school, so we all went to the one high school. So when everybody else is listening to rap music and country music, and pop
Yeah,
music, you
yeah.
kind of tend to gravitate to whoever's most like you, and that just happened to be them.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
given my experience and the experience my friends have had, I understand that the hardcore scene isn't exactly the most faith friendly scene there is.
True. Yeah,
So, like,
true.
what challenges have y'all faced in that, and how have y'all kind of overcome those challenges?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, being that we're such a young band so far, we're only like a year into this. We haven't really, experienced a lot of obstacles, concerning faith that probably a lot of other like Christian bands similar to us have probably gone through. Um, other than just like, a few comments here and there online and stuff like that, from your I don't know, just crazy people online, just bashing Christianity and stuff like that. Other than just like a few couple one of those, we haven't really faced a whole lot of opposition, which, you know, thank the Lord for that. But honestly, we're also geared up and trying to be as ready for that as possible because, when we really start playing shows, maybe doing some touring and stuff like that too, I'm sure we're going to be facing a lot of that opposition face to face. And that's kind of the idea as well, because we want to be bold with our faith. We want to be bold with the gospel with this band. And so we're definitely, gearing up and preparing ourselves for whatever, um, you know, comes in our way. And so, but yeah, nothing too much, honestly. I'm actually fairly surprised, of how little resistance we've received. And so, but like I said, as far as we go, I'm sure it's just going to increase and increase.
Right.
Hmm.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So the main reason I brought you on, let's go ahead and talk about that. So
Yeah, that's good, man.
y'all have a couple. Is it one single or is it more than one single out now? I can't remember because I found
Yeah.
y'all. Just to clarify, I discovered y'all first through was it For the King put a sampler out, had like 30 tracks or something on it from a bunch of different
Oh, for the
bands.
rock. Was
For
it
the
for the
Rock,
rock?
thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was where I first heard y'all. So then, of course, I had to start following y'all, right? Naturally. And then I saw
Awesome,
your
man.
EP dropped because I'm in like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
little Instagram group chat by For the
Oh, cool.
Rock. And they were like, hey,
Yeah,
check it out. They just dropped the EP. I was like, oh, cool, bet. Um,
that's awesome.
so tell us about the EP. Let's start with that.
Yeah, yeah. So EP just dropped. I think it's probably a little over like 2 weeks now. It dropped August 7th, so I think that was a Thursday. So I think it's been a week and a half, 2 weeks or something like that. What day is it now? Oh my goodness, 23rd. Dude, time has been flying. August is like literally zipped by. But yeah, man. So we dropped the EP. We originally wrote. We have 6 songs done. We were going to release it as a 6-song EP, but we decided to actually split the EP up into 2 different EPs, and so kind of like sister EPs, if that makes sense. I've never really seen anybody do that. We weren't exactly sure if anybody has done that, but yeah, we decided to roll with it. But yeah, so the first EP is going to be called Orthodoxy, and then the second EP is going to be called Orthopraxy. And so we've actually had a lot of people ask us, "Hey, are you guys Orthodox? Are you guys Greek Orthodox?" You know, all that kind of stuff. And so I've tried to clear up the confusion as much as I can because we're not an Orthodox band. We're actually most of the members are Protestant, and so um, no knock on Orthodox, but the word orthodoxy that the EP actually means is more the theological term of it, like correct belief, correct doctrine. And we just felt that was fitting just from like the lyrical content of the EP, which a lot of it, it's like spiritual warfare stuff where, you know, we're, um, we're acknowledging the fact that the enemy is going to attack, and we want to be able to be correct in our thinking, correct in our thoughts, where the enemy likes to stir confusion. And so I was like, you know what, orthodoxy sounds like a good place to start with an EP title. And then orthopraxy, when that comes out, probably at the end of September or maybe early October, we're going to be releasing that EP. But when that comes out, I think the lyrical content probably leans more towards what that means, and that just means correct practice. And so, like living out your faith in a way that's faithful to um, orthodox belief, which is correct doctrine and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so we just thought that'd be like a cool little kind of play on words, and um, instead of releasing it all as one. So orthopraxy, orthodoxy. But yeah, the EP, man, 3 songs, real short EP actually. I think it's like 7 minutes, all 3 songs. But I think it's really in your face kind of style of music, and yeah, that 7 minutes goes pretty quick, I'm sure too. But yeah, man, we put that out, and it's been crazy to see the response we've already gotten from it, and how it's helped people, and how people are resonating with it. And yeah, it's awesome, man, to see what the Lord's been doing with it.
I got you. Yeah, it's a great
Hmm.
EP. I've listened to
Oh,
it
thanks,
multiple
man.
times already. So,
Appreciate it.
um, so
Awesome.
who does most of the songwriting? Is it you? Is it kind of shared collectively with all the members? Like,
Yeah, so the majority of the songwriting would be myself. I do, I play guitar, I play bass, I play drums as well. And so I have a little bit of that versatility with that, and so I kind of am able to envision like kind of like where I want all the parts to be and stuff like that musically. And so I obviously write the lyrics as well, but probably about majority of the songwriting I do. But our guitar player Billy, he's a great songwriter too, and he actually wrote the music for our single Sons of Vipers. And so I had a couple words of input for that there. And then he also wrote the music for our song off the new EP, the song No Weapon. And so he wrote that one musically. And then I had like a couple, like little inputs here and there for certain parts and stuff like that. And so him and I mean, we've been doing music for probably like 18 to 20 years together. And so when he wanted to join the band, I was like, absolutely. Because him and I have just, we've jived so well over the years. We've worked together so well. Um, and so, yeah, it was a no brainer to bring him on. But yeah, him and I do most of the songwriting, if not all of it. But yeah, actually, I've invited the other band members to, like, hey, if you guys want to write stuff too, let's do it. Let's have some songwriting sessions here in the future and stuff. And so, yeah, we definitely want to be, uh, just open to everybody's thoughts and opinions in terms of like how the songs go, and all that kind of stuff. So just want to be really easy to work with in that sense. So yeah.
right, I got you. So,
Hmm.
I do have a very specific question. about the
Yeah, let's
EP,
hear it.
or well, about one of the songs on the EP. So,
Yeah,
so testify.
yes, sir.
What is the significance of the date in the title?
Yeah, dude, great question. So, um, yeah, I wrote this song that it was supposed to be, kind of laying out parts of my testimony because, um, yeah, it's just a huge part of my life and my story of how I came to faith as well. And so that date, yeah, December 23rd, 07, um, is the date I actually almost died in a car accident. And so in the beginning part of the song, it says, I remember the day, or oh my gosh, I forget my own song. Yeah, I remember the day, I remember the night death came for me, winter '07 near Christmas Eve. And so that's that's kind of illuminating to that date, 12/23 near Christmas Eve 2007 being '07. And so, yeah, I almost died in a car wreck. At the time, I was a drummer in a metalcore band, and we had a gig with. I don't know if you know of this band, but they were kind of big back in the day. They were called Scars of Tomorrow, and we had a gig with them that night. And I don't remember exactly what happened. I think there was like a family emergency or something like that with the band, and so they ended up canceling the whole gig. And so that night, me and a few friends, we decided to get trashed. We decided to drink a lot. I think we smoked weed that night too. And we're just like in no shape, way, or form, you know, stable enough to get in a car, But my buddy was like, "Hey, do you want to go off-roading? I know a spot down, over in this canyon where we can go off-roading and it'll be fun." We're all drunk and high and just like, "Yeah, let's go do it." We were 18 at the time, just young and dumb. And so got in the car. Long story short, I was sitting in the back right of the car and I fell asleep. And then I woke up to us literally losing control on a road heading straight for a tree. And so our car wrapped around a tree. And next thing I know, I'm waking up to sirens and police and ambulance and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, my vision was blurred. I was in shock, getting pulled out of this car too. And then eventually being um, rushed to a hospital to go get plastic surgery on my face. It got all messed up. I had like glass and stuff like that all up in it. But yeah, I almost died that night. It's pretty gnarly. That that night when I was in the hospital, one of the doctors went up to my mom and basically was like, "Hey, do you believe in God?" And my mom at the time was like, "Yeah, absolutely do." And he's like, "Yeah, your son should be dead. There's multiple reasons why he should not be living right now." And he kind of listed out X, Y, and Z why I shouldn't be alive, And so that night in the hospital room, it's the first time I cried out to the Lord. And I didn't really, you know, I didn't really have a church upbringing or anything like that, but I cried out to God. I was like, "God, I know you're real. You spared me. Um, thank you," all this kind of stuff. And that was like, I would say, probably the start of my faith journey. At that point, I started to pray, started to really invest in my faith. Not a whole lot. I still had a lot of maturing to do to really get to the place where I'm just like 100% in. But at that point, I would say that's what really got the ball rolling for my faith. And probably when I was like around 22, 23 years old, like I had an encounter with the Lord in um, my apartment living room at the time, and from that point on, everything changed. But it all started that night, though, man. That was the yeah, that was the beginning.
Wow, that's crazy.
Mhm.
It's deep.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's like the you know Spark Note version. Just real quick version. I could get into depth of that,
Yeah.
but yeah, man. So that's what that song's about. Yeah.
Okay. I kind of figured it was something dramatic. Usually,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
put dates in titles for songs
yeah,
unless they really mean something.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but I got you. Wow.
Yeah,
Well, praise God, I guess. I mean, I don't know what else you
oh,
could say to that, right?
yeah. 100%, man. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
so now, have y'all connected with any of the other Christian metalcore, hardcore bands that are in the area? Because I know there's more than a few. Um,
Yeah, yeah. So, California wise, or just
I mean, just
you know,
California wise, honestly. I mean, I know, like, for example, I know Unworthy's near y'all, right?
I yeah, I'm not entirely sure where they're at.
They're in California. I know they're in California somewhere because I
Yeah.
interviewed their vocalist and
Oh,
he's
okay.
definitely in California. I just can't remember specifically where in California.
Yeah, they're the death metal band, right? They're like deathcore, death metal kind of
Yeah,
thing going there.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
They
I
just
saw a
dropped a
couple
new
of.
album.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I got to check that out. I've seen like some footage of them, and I was like, dang, this is heavy. Sounded pretty sick. So, but yeah, in terms of like Christian hardcore bands, like the only one like we've had like a couple, Instagram messages with what is it, a Doulos, I think it is how you pronounce it, X Doulos X. And so I know they're out in the Inland Empire, which is like I think like 45 minutes from where we live, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic. I don't know if you're familiar with California traffic, but it's gnarly, man.
I can't say I'm personally
Yeah.
familiar, but I've definitely heard stories.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pretty gnarly, dude.
I
But
got you.
yeah, and I'm not entirely sure where some of the other bands are. Well, we actually we connected with a pop punk band, Light the Way. They're up north from us. They're about like 7 hours, 7 8 hour drive, and we're actually talking to them the other day. They seem like cool dudes, and we're gonna try to play some shows together. And yeah, small world thing too. They know some of the guys that Billy and I are. My guitar player. We used to be in a pop punk band back in the day. They know a lot of the same guys that we used to play with and stuff like that. And so it's kind of a small world type of thing. But yeah, they seem like chill dudes, and would love to play some shows with them too.
I got you. So, speaking of playing shows, I mean,
Yeah,
what is like now that you've got a couple singles out, you got your EP out, you're about to drop another EP
yeah,
in a couple weeks
yeah. Mhm.
probably. What comes after? What happens next after that?
Yeah, I mean, it's shows, man. We want to play. Our goal is to get the band fired up enough to play a show by the end of 2025. But if not by the end of 2025, 2026 is the year for sure. We're gonna try to book, you know, you know, as many shows as we can get ourselves on, and I think that that's really the next step, and to just continue writing because we love the writing process. We love that creative process, and we got merch lined up. We got some designs for some merch, and so we're going to be throwing that online once we get the store set up and we get them actually printed. And so I'm just like going through quotes and stuff like that right now. But yeah, man, so fun stuff like that. But shows would definitely be, that'd be awesome. We're getting a drummer acclimated right now. We're just like practicing the new songs. We're practicing the old songs as well. And yeah, when we feel things are right and nice and tight in terms of the music and stuff like that, yeah, we want to get on some shows, man. So we're eager for that, but we're not trying to rush the process either.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, I guess
So,
you got to trust the process when it comes to music, huh?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. And it's it's kind of funny, like doing music like 18 years ago when you're like 18. I'm 36 right now, so 18 years ago would be I was 18. Yeah, so I mean, your whole life revolved around the band. You know what I mean? It's like practices, shows constantly. And so doing music now, where everybody has, at least most of us are married. Some of us have kids. We have jobs and stuff to attend to. It's not as easy to be able to coordinate everybody and get everybody together at the same time. And so when we do get together, we try to be as productive as we can as well. And so, but everybody's excited, man. We just we want to get those live shows on the way, man.
I got you. I understand. I understand.
Yeah,
It sounds exciting, even though I've never
yeah,
been in
man.
a band, so I wouldn't really know. But
Do you play music at all, or
um, short answer, no.
you dabble on some guitar?
Actually, no. I used to
Oh, okay.
freehand piano back, like my church that I grew up going to had this piano. I used to just mess around on it. I never
Oh,
had any training to actually play piano.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Honestly,
It's
to like a connoisseur, it probably sounded horrible, you know.
hard. It's all good. Yeah,
But
it's hard, man. Piano, sheesh.
yeah.
Yeah,
But actually, it's funny because that's probably if I could play an instrument, that'd probably be my favorite instrument just because of how it sounds. Which is really
absolutely.
weird because I never grew up listening to piano music except for hymns,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because my dad raised me on like Pink Floyd and Led
Oh, love
Zeppelin
Pink
and
Floyd.
Metallica and all the old
Same, man.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
grew up, listening to the Beatles. That's where I really got to appreciate songwriting. 'Cause a lot of people will knock them and say, "Oh, they only play 4 or 5 chords," but I'm like, yeah, but if you actually see what they're doing, you know what I mean? It's so much more nuanced than just 4 chords. You know what I mean? They're genius songwriters, and um, musically, but also like, just their melodies that they come up with and stuff like that are just genius. And so as a songwriter, you got to always appreciate the Beatles. But dude, I grew up with Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd's one of my all-time favorite bands, all those bands, man, all the classics always hit.
and like when I got a little bit older in like middle school, I
Mhm.
really developed an obsession with Nirvana for some reason.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
don't get me wrong, they're good. They're
Yeah, yeah.
good. And then of course that naturally then that led to the Foo Fighters, which definitely one of my
Yeah.
favorite bands for sure.
Love Foo Fighters, man. Yeah.
Oh man, you got me reminiscing up here. Okay, well, okay.
All the classics, man.
So you touched on your songwriting process a little bit. What
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like in depth? What does that kind of look like for you? Like, is it kind of just like you'll just randomly think of something throughout the day, go write it down, and then come back to it later, or do you actually really sit down and like plan out whole songs in like one session? Like, how does that work for you?
Yeah, yeah. Dude, great question. I'd say yes to all of that. It's kind of a combination of so many different things. Um, I like in terms of like the music, that's usually where I'll start, the instrumental. And so I'll sit down with my electric guitar, throw on some headphones, plug it into my pedal board, and I'll just start strumming away. And um and then just write the song piece by piece. Some of our songs like are pretty structured. We'll try to go by like, intro, verse, chorus, breakdown, out, in terms of structure. Other songs, they're just like more progressive. They have a beginning, and then they just kind of change throughout the course of the song. And whatever feels natural in terms of like the transitions and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll just sit down with my guitar and start riffing, man. And sometimes the songs come real quick. Sometimes you kind of have to chew on them for a bit before you really start to resonate with what it is that you're writing. And then when I feel good with something, I'll track it. I'll lay down some scratch tracks. I'll throw some drums, some programmed drums with it and stuff, and then I'll usually save that, throw it in to my phone, and then throw it onto some headphones and stuff like that, and then start listening to it. Start to build cadences and lyrics from that point on and stuff like that. And I'll kind of get it in my head. Sometimes the lyrics come like that. Sometimes, same with the music. It's you got to chew on it for a bit to really convey what it is that you want to convey. Um and yeah, sometimes phrases come to mind. I'll write those down, and sometimes they just flow out. And then other times it's like, oh, I like this line, but I feel like I could say this better. Maybe, I could find a different word for here. And it's kind of like a puzzle, I feel like almost sometimes. And you're finding different pieces and then putting them into place as you go. And I don't know, that's just kind of how songwriting has always been for me. I know it's not the same for everybody else, and doesn't mean that anybody else's process is wrong, doesn't mean that my process is wrong. It's just where I land eventually. And yeah, that's kind of how it is. I think that's the best way to describe it, is that it's a puzzle and you're just finding the pieces and putting them in place. And so, yeah, man, that's kind of what my process looks like a little bit.
I got you. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Kind of sounds like my writing process. I write a lot,
Oh,
so
cool. That's
uh,
awesome.
not songs, but more like
Yeah.
articles, reviews, stuff like that. But
Oh, that's cool.
I tend to end
Yeah.
up in about the same process. Sometimes I'll think of a random thing to write about and go write it down, and then sometimes
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I need to write something, just don't know what. So,
Yeah. There
but
you go.
yeah. So I got two more questions for you
Yeah, for
before we
sure,
close
man.
it out. So my
Mhm.
first question, my second to last question, I guess is the better way to phrase that. What advice would you give to someone trying to enter, just in general, just the Christian metalcore scene?
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Do it. I think that would be my advice, is absolutely do it. Don't be afraid to do it. You know, I think we need it. It's needed. We need to be bold, with the message of the gospel, and um, and to do it in such a niche style of music. I always tell people, it's like, hardcore, metalcore, all that kind of stuff is a niche style of music, and then there's Christian metalcore, which is another niche of the niche, if that makes sense. But I think, it's light and darkness, you know what I mean? And you can't have enough of that. And so if there's anyone, having that same prompting, like I said, that, I said earlier, um, if you feel led to do that, do it, man. We need more people, proclaiming the gospel, proclaiming the name of Christ, and metal music and metalcore, hardcore, deathcore, all of it, man. And so, yeah, just get to it.
I got you. My final
Yeah.
question: where can everybody find your music?
Where can you find the music?
Yep.
So I think, these days I feel like, streaming platforms is the way to go. We're really active on Spotify. We really kind of gear our music towards, streaming platforms like Spotify. But we've had people purchasing it on Bandcamp. And so you can find us on Bandcamp. And thanks to everybody who's already given on that platform. Wasn't expecting that at all, because I didn't really think people buy music anymore. I think you just kind of get a
It
streaming platform.
it is actually. I've read a couple articles
Yeah,
where it's actually making a comeback to buy music, and
really.
as a matter of fact, I'm hopping on the trend. I dug this out of storage
Well,
the other day. You know what that
there
is,
you go.
right?
iPod, yeah.
iPod.
Yes, sir. I still have my 160 gig classic one.
Oh, dude, you
And
have
so,
the 160 gig. Oh, I'm jealous, dog. I'm
yeah,
jealous.
those things go for some money. I've seen online.
They do. Well, they're so easy. The
Yeah.
classics, especially, are incredibly easy to modify,
Oh, for sure.
and that's what makes them so valuable. Is you can like the old hard drives in them are like garbage because they're just hard.
Oh,
They're literally like little physical hard drives that with the
yeah,
spinny disc in them. Everybody like takes those out and puts in like a memory card almost.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Plus, you can upgrade storage that way. It's a lot easier.
yeah.
Um,
Gotcha.
but I do have a classic. It's just not functional right now. I think
Need some work.
I hope it's just the battery because if it's something,
Yeah, for sure.
if it's like the
For sure.
charge port, it's cooked. I can't, like, that's some next level soldering and everything else to try to fix that.
Yeah, yeah.
But my iPod Touch does work, which only got 32
There
gigs,
you
but I don't have that much music. Like,
go. How many gigs is that?
The iPod Touch 32.
Yeah. 32. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Dang. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember, growing up with some MP3 players and stuff like that and having to be strategic with what songs and what albums you put on it because, that storage fills up real quick.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it actually already has some songs on it, but it's only used
Oh, nice.
like, I don't know, a couple gigs maybe, not
Yeah,
even
yeah.
anything close to
Dang,
maxing
man.
out. And plus, now that it's so old that it can't use any like the apps or anything, the only
Yeah.
thing it's gonna have on there is music, which is just more free space. Because that was what killed the iPod Touch's storage is apps. It's never been the music. It's always been apps.
Dang, I never had an iPod Touch. I've only had the classics. And
Yeah,
once I got the 160 gig classic, I just stuck with it, man.
yeah. Well, see, I came along. Well, no, I was around for the iPod Classics. It's just we could never afford the iPod Classics. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
by the time we were able to actually afford to get an iPod, period, the touches were the
Yeah.
thing to get.
Oh, okay.
I really
Dang.
wanted like the 64 gig one, but
Yeah.
that was a lot of money back then. It's a lot of money now. Actually, it's very hard to find these.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think I remember when I got the classic, I think at the time I put my whole paycheck wherever I was working at the time. I don't remember. It costed like a whole paycheck or two or something like that to get it. And so, yeah, they were pricey when those things were rolling out. So, but it was so worth it, because you're constantly just listening to music, going to school, whatever it was.
Yeah, well, see, and you know what? That's my plan. That's why I dug the iPod Touch out because we're kind of in a more rural area, so you got some dead zones and stuff
Oh,
around
okay.
here, right?
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, what are you gonna do when like your options at that point were either throw a CD in the radio or listen to the FM radio, and I'm like, I don't like
Yeah,
either
yeah,
of these options,
for sure.
you know. So it's probably gonna live in my car is what it's probably gonna end up doing, but
There you go.
that's fine
Yeah,
too. Works all the same, you know.
absolutely, man.
Um, okay. That was all the questions I had for you. Just like
Yeah,
every other
yeah,
guest I have on, I'm gonna open it up if you have any questions for me.
yeah. Um, yeah, man. So where exactly are you from again?
Uh, well, I live in North Carolina. I'm not originally from North
Carolina.
Carolina, but
Okay.
yeah, that's where I live now. I'm originally from
Got it.
South Carolina. So,
Got it, man. That's cool. What's like your church background like growing up?
right. So I started off my early years were spent in my grandparents' little country United Methodist church.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
it's not United Methodist anymore. It
Uh-oh.
was one of those that left a couple
Yeah.
years ago. Then my mom moved us to the Wesleyan church when we started living with my step family. And
Yeah.
just if you don't know what the Wesleyans are, the Wesleyan church
Oh,
is kind of like it. They're Methodist, but they're
yeah.
more. They're not United Methodist. They're more like the Global Methodist Church is now,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
um, but just smaller, like
Oh,
way
gotcha.
smaller denomination. But I actually go to the local Episcopal church now,
Oh, cool.
here in town. Yeah, so
Yeah.
but you know, it's definitely a very storied background, although not nearly as storied as some people's backgrounds that I've had on here. So what now that brings up a question for you. What is I mean, because
Yeah.
y'all said y'all were mostly Protestant, which I find a little bit unusual because I've noticed a
Yeah.
lot of Christian metalcore, hardcore bands tend to be either Roman Catholic or Orthodox for some reason.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is y'all's backgrounds?
Yeah, man. So for me, I just grew up in like, well, I didn't grow up in the church, but like when I entered the church, I grew up through more like mainline evangelical churches around here and stuff like that. But that kind of didn't limit me to other churches. I've served at Pentecostal churches. I've served at Baptist churches. I'm pretty well read in like Reformed theology. I've read, Catholic guys, like Henry Nouwen and a lot of these other guys, and kind of always just kind of considered myself like a mutt when it comes to theology and stuff like that, because I don't know, I've kind of always had an appreciation for a lot of the different denominations and church backgrounds and stuff like that. So I got a big heart for ecumenicalism and just unity, for the church in general. And so but yeah, so that definitely didn't limit me to, just staying in a Protestant evangelical, style of church. But yeah, I've always appreciated being able to see other, walks of the church, I guess, denominations and traditions and stuff like that. And yeah, it's kind of interesting being, in a Christian hardcore band now, and almost on the you know what would you call it, like minority side of things, being a Protestant, because it just feels like a lot of people are looking into Orthodox. I have some Orthodox friends and stuff like that too, and from what I heard, I don't know how true this is, but I think it's probably one of the bigger, more faster growing parts of the Big C church in general, and so a lot of people are going to it. And part of that, I feel like, is, there's this hunger for, that reverential side of church, where you go and you just feel more connected to God in the service in a very, ancient Christianity type of way, and so a lot of these more liturgical, places that emphasize the Eucharist and stuff like that. I think it's just been really appealing to a lot of the younger generations and stuff like that. And I'm sure that those aren't the only reasons why people are going to those parts of the church, but at least that's just what I've heard and what I've seen. And so I don't know. Why
Yeah.
do you think that is?
Well, you know, you you might be right in some respect because
Yeah,
I've definitely noticed. We actually, it's funny for as small of a town as we are. I mean, we're only like
yeah,
14,000 people here for like the
yeah.
whole county, and we actually have an Orthodox church and a Catholic church and an Episcopal church and a Presbyterian church and a Baptist church and a Methodist church all in one town. It's
Bible Belt,
it
man.
is wild
Yeah,
when you look at the diversity. But I mean, yeah, I'd say I think I don't think it's specifically like the Orthodox or Catholic churches that people are really looking for. I
yeah,
think what's probably happening is people are looking for that more liturgical, reverent
yeah,
Christianity, but the only thing they know that is liturgical or reverent is either Orthodox or Catholic, for the
yeah.
most
Interesting.
part.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people tend to totally breeze past the idea of like traditional Presbyterianism or traditional Anglicanism, you
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah.
or even to an extent traditional Baptist worship, even, which
For sure.
you
Yeah,
know, and I'm not a Baptist,
yeah, yeah.
so I think a lot of people tend to just jump ship to Roman Catholic and Orthodox just because they don't know about classical Protestantism.
Hmm.
Um, I'd like to hope that the internet can maybe help change that a little bit. Not that there's
Yeah, yeah,
anything wrong with being Roman Catholic or Orthodox. It's just why jump to just one of those two when there's like at least four other good options available, you know?
yeah. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. Like I haven't really looked into like Lutheranism a whole lot, in terms of where it is today. You know what I mean?
Well,
Um,
see, Lutheran's kind of like one of those denominations that's always around, but you never really hear about it.
yeah, exactly.
And depending on the Lutheran church in your area, that might be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's kind of one of the things that I have to navigate being going to an Episcopal church. See, our Episcopal church is
Yeah,
probably not what most people think of when they think of an Episcopal church
yeah,
for people who actually know what the Episcopal church even is.
Yeah.
So it it is definitely, I can understand why most people would just jump straight to Roman Catholic or Orthodox because it's very obvious to see
Yeah.
that there's solid ground. You don't have to do a whole lot of waiting, but also I've considered I've considered Roman Catholicism, but there's a lot that I'd have to like
Yeah. A lot
a
of hoops to jump.
lot to change on for me to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. For
And
sure.
as far as Eastern Orthodox, I mean, I've gone to the local Eastern Orthodox church once for a prayer
Mhm.
service, and it was fine. You know,
Yeah.
nothing crazy, nothing, no red flags. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just, I don't know. It just was not for me. This was not for
Yeah.
me. I like the Anglican tradition, um, and that probably makes a lot of sense if I have a very Methodist background, since the Methodists kind of spawned out of the Anglican tradition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That makes
so,
sense.
but yeah, I think it's way more complicated and nuanced than people make it out to be.
Mm.
I think the Catholics and the Orthodox are kind of making it, or they're oversimplifying it so they look better. I think realistically, what's going to happen is you're going to see it start kind of even out, and there's going to be a lot more people moving towards like classical Protestantism,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
addition to the people who are going Eastern Orthodox or Roman Catholic. I
Yeah.
think that's what's going
Interesting.
to happen.
Yeah. And then the connection from that to, this surge of metal, Christian metalcore and hardcore bands, being orthodox and all that kind of stuff too is it's fascinating. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not really sure where that came from. You know, I that's kind of that. I'm still like, man, that's so randomly specific. That is,
yeah.
there's gotta be a deeper story behind that somewhere.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not sure what it is, but
like I'm pretty sure a lot of Christian rock is not, like, just in general is not
yeah.
Eastern Orthodox or Roman Catholic. A lot of Christian rock is typically Protestant. A lot of it's evangelical Protestant. So I don't
Yeah.
really know what the deal with the metalcore, hardcore Christian scene is with it being so Orthodox and Catholic. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah. I mean, there's an old saying that says it takes all different types of churches to reach all different types of people. And so
Yeah,
I'm just glad they're under the tutelage, hopefully, of good, healthy leadership who love Jesus and His Word, and from that point on, um,
that is true. That is
all
all
power
we
to the
can
Lord.
ask for. That is all
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
pray for, really.
absolutely, bro.
All right. I mean, that was everything. Um,
Cool, man.
Thanks for coming on.
Dude,
Obviously,
thanks for having me, man.
yeah,
Really
no
appreciate your
problem.
time.
And
Yeah,
I want to close us out with a prayer for musicians.
let's do it, man. Awesome.
O God, whom saints and angels delight to worship in heaven, be ever present with your servants who seek through art and music to perfect the praises offered by your people on earth, and grant to them even now glimpses of your beauty, and make them worthy at length to behold it unveiled forevermore through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Down South Salvation Podcast. I hope you found our discussion insightful and engaging. If you enjoyed the show, please consider liking this episode and sharing it with your friends and family. It really helps me reach more listeners like you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. You can also follow me on X, formerly Twitter, at DS Salvation, and Instagram at Down South Salvation for updates and more. For additional content and to stay updated, find me on YouTube, Substack, and all major podcast platforms at the Down South Salvation Podcast. Your support means the world to me, and I look forward to bringing you more exciting episodes soon. Until next time, stay blessed.